Italians of Reddit, how do you feel about the way other countries are currently handling the pandemic? Italian here with a real question. Why toilet paper? We ran out of flour, yeast and mozzarella. That I can understand. Because you eat it. But toilet paper? You don't eat toilet paper. That shit's a delicacy in America. I'm Italian. Living in Milan, Lombardy, North Italy. This COVID-19 has been like a wave. You see a huge wave, but it's very far. So you basically don't care. You think by the time it will be here, it will be just a small wave only. When it gets too near, you see a 100-foot wall of water going to hit you. And then it's too late to do anything, but you just brace for impact and hope for the best. The first death attributed to COVID-19 has been registered here on February 21st. There's now proof that the coronavirus has reached Italy in January, and probably at the start too. There have been reports of unexpected hospitalizations with pneumonia since late December too. Now you can understand why we reached 700 plus daily deaths. This virus had all the time to spread around, with most of the people not even realizing it, as most of Italians. I don't understand why other countries are not handling it better, and why they are all underestimating the impact it has on lives. I mean, we have the answer, and it's Reddit. I'm quite touched by your words and interest. All I want to suggest you, especially if you live in a country with coronavirus cases, please distance yourself from other people. Stay home as much as possible. Keep your hands as clean as possible. Don't care about other people's judgments, or don't follow your politicians. Work from home if you can. We had 969 deaths in Italy today. That's the highest ever to date. I also think the virus was in Italy way earlier than people think. That's why I got so angry when my country, Denmark, let people go on vacation and skiing in Italy and Austria in February. They should just have banned traveling completely. I still shake my head to this day because of the way the Danish government acted so slow on this. Because 2 weeks later after the holiday, coronavirus cases began to show up in Denmark. Now a month after, more than 2,000 cases, and that's only those who's vulnerable being tested. There's probably many more infected than that. There was even a story about a school headmaster who ducking recommended his students to go on vacation, even though there was slowly increasing cases in Italy. It was outrageous. How can someone be so gullible? Italian here. I'd say that generally the news report that other countries are following our example by adopting those measures we implemented in the first place. So we are somewhat glad that other countries are doing their job. However, given the situation, we are frustrated when we see that despite those measures people are still going outside and panic buying and the like. We especially feel sorry for the next hit country in Europe, Spain. Stay strong, lads. Some people here have started to have anti-EU sentiments after some problems we had with the ECB, and we try to stay positive by thinking that, given that we were one of the first countries to get the disease, we might be among the first to recover and have a head start when it comes to production and exports. And we hope that we have a head start on the economy as a whole. What was the problem with the ECB? Lagarde said that the ECB was not there to reduce the spread, the difference between German and Italian bonds. Investors interpreted this as the ECB will not guarantee any returns on investment, and the Italian stock exchange went down by 17%, the worst crash in our history. Japan here. Japan for a week or so believed itself almost immune to COVID-19. There were multiple things on Twitter blowing up about how people were saying that because the Japanese were hygienic and washed their hands/wore masks regularly, the virus hadn't spread rapidly. However, a lot of other people believed that they were actually artificially keeping the numbers low because they wanted the Olympics to go ahead. There were reports of a lot of people being turned away for testing. In the last few days, Tokyo's numbers have doubled and are speeding up at an alarming pace. Japan has like no time to react, and today Prime Minister Abe came out saying a lockdown would be bad for the economy. So, we learned nothing. I'm also in Japan. I can't see any future in which we are not totally ducked. I took this picture link, imga.com/gcris. JPG, yesterday, a Thursday, at 4:01 PM on a major shopping street in Kobe, one of the worst hit cities so far in the country. It will, of course, be much more crowded this weekend. I'm seeing life go on as normal with nothing but the absolute barest of precautions, and I'm terrified of where this will lead us. I really fear for Japan. They have the biggest proportion of elderly people in the world. This can and will turn really grim. Why did it take so much for you to close down? I was terrified to see stadiums full of people for Champions League. Guys, we have the army that needs to move bodies from Bergamo to other cities because the crematorium can't run fast enough. There is a town that in previous years averaged 35 deaths from January to March. This year they registered 158 deaths, and only 31 of those are officially by COVID. There's shortage of coffins and of funeral directors because they are getting sick as well. This is ducking serious. So, it's true many deaths are not being officially attributed to COVID-19. Wow, it's much worse. I mean, you'll also have some deaths where people didn't die of COVID-19, but died from lack of care/ICU beds etc. due to the pandemic. I don't know what the numbers should be, and it does sound suspicious, but it wouldn't be surprising that some of the high numbers are due to otherwise preventable deaths that aren't from COVID-19. I live close by Bergamo. Everyone believes, as far as I know, that most countries reacted slow and did the same mistakes we did. If everyone would have just taken this seriously, many lives would have been and would be saved in the future. However, governments chose to keep the countries open as long as possible to not have more severe economical repercussions. At this stage most Italians are really focused themselves, except the brief mention of cases in other countries in the mainstream media. Stay home. Stay safe. I'm in New Zealand and TBH our government actually acted pretty quick. We have gone into a minimum 4-week compulsory lockdown across the whole country and this decision was made with only 30 or so cases at the time. Now we are up to a couple of hundred, but I think it was the smart thing to do. Imozi and our government aren't very bright. Can your prime minister and cabinet please run our country too? Thanks. Greek here. Our government had a super fast reaction to the whole situation and forced us to stay home when the deaths in our country were less than 10. 1 week later, and less than 30 people have died in our country out of the 10,000 we have. So not all countries reacted late. This right here, whether you like the government or not, there is no denying it acted incredibly fast. I'm an Italian that lives in Norway. I have family in Milan. I was following Italian news outlets as this was starting. It was incredibly stressful seeing this gradually ramp up while Norway was doing nothing. There was this strong mentality of this is not our problem as it began to spread here. Finally Norway went into lockdown 12th of March. I have Norwegian friends that live in England who are experiencing that same fear I initially had of why isn't our government doing anything. There seems to be this constant lag caused by world leaders not truly understanding the magnitude of this, or just not wanting to risk their economy. Edit. The meme ripped your grandma, but I'm different is now real life. I was really angry at my government for closing down schools and universities on the 25th of February. I wanted to go to university. Now, I'm really grateful because had it not been for that, we would be truly and utterly ducked. Right now, we are at 235 cases and 227 recovered. Granted, we have a small population and are very dense, so it's easy to mount a countrywide response. I'm happy with how the government is dealing with it. Pretty much every week there's a new decision from Parliament imposing more and more restrictions on us, and it's showing in the slowdown of the spread. Just yesterday pretty much everything excluding groceries, hospitals and bakery is closed for the next 2 weeks, and police have been deployed to break up any gatherings of more than 5 people. It's insane. But we are safe and prepared and can get through this because of their quick response and their economic stimulus package that's worth more than 20% of our entire GDP lol. In Italy we decided to do whatever it takes to stop the infection regardless of the economical repercussions, even though we initially underestimated what would have been sufficient to stop it. I can't understand how some countries ever considered that they could do nothing. That would have caused huge amounts of deaths just for almost nothing. I'm glad everyone came to reason But they wasted precious time and people have died because of that. Yeah. No. Brazil is still treating it as just another flu last time I checked. Not all of us are doing that. Just some parts of the population that go after what Bolsonaro is saying. Hey from Brazil, we're boned. We are indeed. Hi from Paraguay. Hope your president gets the signal fast and start doing shit. Because Brazil has the potential to become another epicenter. I'm Italian as well. Here's the thing, it's hard to grasp for people the numbers you see. The number of positive cases. And especially the deaths. They are not from the whole country of 60 millions. But they are mostly from an area that at the most comprises of 10 million people. Put that in perspective if you can. The reason why our numbers are not ridiculously large, meaning widespread around the country and not just somewhat circumscribed, is because we locked everything down as soon as we got an idea of what was really happening. And yes, we made mistakes. But in many ways we feel we are ground zero for a Western country, as many mentioned. In Europe the methods used by South Korea would be illegal. We thought we'd be leaders and be able to teach a grand lesson. And then we see country after country falling in the O. This is serious, and pass. They said we got out of control because our health system is not good. It is actually pretty great. They said it got out of control because our population is older, sure. But much older than the rest of Europe. They didn't trust our experience. It drives me berserk to see the military trucks hauling away corpses out of Bergamo and people in Florida saying that, since they waited 2 months for spring break, they are not going to give it up. Nobody is ducking singing out of their balconies in Bergamo. It is insane that the leadership in the US has downplayed this threat so recklessly, even after having all the data in hand. Now we are giving this virus a chance to mutate and be even more aggressive. Duck you for not listening. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.